That's where I shot him the last time, right in the spine. I figured I'd,
All right, what's up, everybody? That's Erik Barber on the mic.
Hello, everybody.
Coming in hot.
We'll start over.
No,
Hey, I'm good leaving it. Let's go.
we're rocking and rolling.
All right. Well, I'm
spine.
gonna go with my. We're gonna leave that in because I did like that, and then we'll a little foreshadowing on what's on the old table right here.
Yeah.
But what's up, everybody? Mark on the mic here. Ryan Muckenhirn across from me, also joined by, you heard him, Mr. Erik Barber. Guys, one thing I love about the podcast
I
is
didn't get an intro.
I said Jim to my right.
Oh, did you?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember.
It was
Well,
really kind of.
It'd be my, let's rewind that a little bit. If I apologize, Jim, I acknowledge that if I didn't say that.
I realize
and
I haven't been here
apologize.
for a hunting episode in a while, so you just have...
Well, you're going to be here for this one, obviously.
Right.
As well as a follow-up. What I was saying is, what I love about the podcast,
Still doesn't introduce you. Go on.
It's fine.
I
Jim's
think
here.
people are aware that Jim is here by now.
Oh, okay.
And if you think that they don't know that, then, Ryan, I feel like you are insulting their intelligence.
It's gone a while since we had those comments about Jim and Mark fighting.
And
But
here it
they're-
is.
Yeah, why are you
They're coming
trying-
back?
Why are
yeah.
you trying to get that going again? As I was saying, for the third time, one thing I love about the podcast is it's kind of, we talk about things around the office, then we get excited about it, then we get an idea, and we're like, well, we should talk about that on the podcast. We're going to talk today about calling coons. And what I'd say is none of us are, I would say, expert coon callers.
Negative.
But we have some experience, and we are excited about it. And this conversation is, because we're having it and having it publicly, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So now we have to go. Like, we're pot committed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're doing this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to say that we're going to go do this.
It's our New Year's resolution.
It's one of them. And then we're going to go. So then it forces us to go do something fun together. There.
I'm in.
There, I said it.
We
It's out
needed
there.
to be forced to hang out.
Hey, with work and families and holidays and time of year and all the things, sometimes you got to give yourself at least some sort of, nudge off the old
a
diving
push.
board. So we have a raccoon rug on the table, Erik.
What a specimen, too.
He's a big one.
Not too many people rug their raccoons.
No, this was a first for me. And
I like it.
Yeah. Backstory on this. I worked at Gander Mountain in high school and college, and there was a raccoon rug at the location that I worked at, and I always wanted one.
Yeah.
And when I called this guy, or when I lured this guy out of the garage and put a 22 round into him, I knew exactly what I was going to do with him.
You said, this is a memory that I want to preserve for the rest of my life.
The old garage rat.
Yep.
This,
Hey, you know what? I think if you've lived anywhere where there's raccoons, you've eventually had kind of a problem raccoon around the house.
This was him.
It's true.
Yep.
It
to
really
quote
is.
Mark Boardman, hey, you got him.
Yep, exactly.
The where and the how is not important. No, that's cool. Back to calling coons.
Yeah.
Erik, you've done a little bit of coon calling.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your experiences.
So I did most of it when I lived in Iowa, and that country is a little bit easier, more conducive to raccoon calling because there's a lot of creeks, a lot of river bottoms, and there is more limited timber than like what we have up here in Wisconsin.
Gotcha.
So for example, you can go into a creek bed that is, maybe 200 yards wide, has a couple really big oak trees, big den trees, and set up a call like we have on the table. And if you add a little bit of visual appeal, we always used a quiver critter decoy.
Okay.
And we would call in the final half hour ish of daylight, and when you could pinpoint a den tree and get close to it, and start out with like a raccoon squalor, or fighting raccoon audio. When they commit, they commit. It's not really something that if you're calling bobcats or something, you might set up for an hour and a half on stand. This is like a 15, 30-minute thing. They're either home or they're not. They're interested or they're not. And when they're interested, they come quick.
How close do you have to set up the call to said tree?
Yeah. I always feel like the closer the better. You don't want to get so close that like when they peer out, they can't like see straight. Like you don't want to be straight under the tree. If you want to get like 15, 20 yards out.
Nobody wants to get jumped on.
Right, exactly. Give them something where they can come out. They have that visual advantage. Picture like bedded mule deer, up on a ridge top where he can like see everything kind of like down below him. If you give him the visual advantage of coming up out of his den and looking, and if he sees in this case, like a quiver critter or some sort of decoy paired with that sound, that seems to be the perfect recipe to get him to kind of come out. So
what you described really was the one time that I did this many, many years ago, and this is, maybe not pre-Fox Pro, but it's what we had at the time, and it was like a Johnny Walker like tape recorded Coon,
the Johnny
fight.
Stewart.
Yeah.
Johnny Stewart, that's what it was.
It's got the auxiliary boom thing, then the cord back. Yep.
Johnny Walker might be Scotch.
I think so.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
I'll tell you what, I like both of them.
Have enough of that, you can make all the calls.
The Johnny Stewart. I can't believe I got that wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like we had some, kind of like a creek bottom on the edge of a cornfield.
Yep.
Like it was kind of like all the things, and probably Western Nebraska, not a lot of trees.
Yeah.
Like
big cottonwood stands.
Basically.
Yep.
I didn't realize that
that's
would
cool
actually,
stuff.
but it does make a lot of sense. I didn't realize that would be something that you actually look for, because obviously raccoons hang out in trees a lot. So I'm like, the more trees, the better. But then you're calling in an area where there can just be in any one of those trees.
Exactly.
So do you do like scouting for raccoons? Like you actually watch them go back up into a given tree? Or when there are so few, you're like, well, if they're going to be anywhere, they're going to have to be there. And so I'm just going to go and find the tree that has a big hole in it and just kind of.
Yeah, we did a lot of our raccoon hunting in areas that we also like deer or turkey hunted in. So, for example, we'd be in there in the fall, bow hunting, and you would make a mental note like, hey, every time we hunt this stand at like first light or last light, we're seeing a couple raccoons come up and down this creek bed. You just kind of save that in your mental notes, and once bow season ends or deer season ends and you're looking for something to kind of beat cabin fever, this is a super fun way to do it.
Yeah.
So you're thinking late fall?
Yeah.
Early spring, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
So in Wisconsin, we have season dates on raccoons, whereas other states, don't quote me on this, but they're managed as a non-game species in other states. I want to say Iowa actually just switched to that. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure. Meaning that you can hunt them at any time of year.
In Wisconsin, you can't?
No.
But what if they're like a nuisance pest and all that stuff? Is that just like a different beast altogether?
That I don't know as far as like private property, like kind of essentially protecting your property. If there's some sort of damage, I don't know the actual rules on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't either. But they're in Wisconsin. They're managed as a fur bearer, so they have a season date of late October through early February.
Feb 15 here, and just because where I hunted coons previously was in Nebraska, I checked theirs, and I was expecting it to be like a year-round, no bag limit thing, but it appeared again. Always double check the regs, but it looked like theirs ended on the on the 29th this year, because there's actually a
leap day
29th this year.
Man, don't quote me on that, Iowa. See, drop the comments below. I'd be curious what their season structure looks like for raccoons. That is something though that as we talk about like. Mark, we were talking before we started recording, but like meso predators and any animal that's preying on like turkey eggs or stuff like that. That's definitely raccoon hunting and calling trapping is something that there seems to be a more diminished interest in. Hide values aren't what they were 30, 40 years ago.
Not a whole lot of incentive other than just pure recreation if you want to put up some fur yourself just to have.
So with that, like the interest has kind of gone down and populations are exploding because no one's really doing it. So if you're looking for something fun to do during the winter months that's hopefully going to result in more turkeys on the landscape, this is a great thing to do. And it's fun to do too. So
yeah, for sure. And I think it's like there's been diminished interest, but I would also venture to guess, as humans and agriculture and things like that, we've created prime coon habitat for them to flourish, right? and that can have an impact on, nesting bird populations and I'm sure other things as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I got to go back to the tree thing because my neighbor and I went out, and based on some of the war stories that I've heard of people going out and calling for coons, it made it seem like you walk out with a Fox Pro anywhere in the out of doors, hammer coon fight, and they'll come falling in like paratroopers.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like. And so we did that. Just is the first time I'd gone out like to try calling in coons, and we did that. And we were between like a bunch of trees, but I put the thing in the middle of like the cornfield, like the cut cornfield, and not a stir.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, Erik's a big fat liar. and so anyway, so I'm trying to think like, so if you're gonna go, I'm thinking in the tenses of other types of hunting.
Yep.
Usually you're very careful, obviously, about like making noise and scent and all this other stuff. So if you're going 15 feet out from a tree that they're in, like when are you doing that? Are you doing that like when it's still? Are you doing all this stuff while it's still light out? Are you trying to do it like when it's like kind of dark? Is there a daytime legal light for raccoon? So many questions.
I'd say when I've done it, I mean, and this is like somewhat coincidentally or maybe just intuitively, I've always done it like in the evening and then the first few hours of darkness. And then from what I've read, that's kind of the best time to go. Yeah. Or at least one of the best times
and
to
you
go.
Just, like, if I'm going to hunt starting at, say, 7 p.m. or 5 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
Do I go and set up the thing underneath their tree at 4:55 and then just go back and sit? Or am I trying to set that thing up like at a better time when they're not going to be like, they would have heard me or...
I'd just go in when you go in and go for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, like during, you can call these things at high noon, broad daylight. But the key there is like, it all goes back to knowing where the den tree is. So like Jimmy thinking about your place, there's that big oak tree on that lane.
Yeah.
If you got by
near the disc golf basket.
Exactly by the disc golf basket. That spot, I would, you'd have to confirm it, but I would highly suspect for a raccoon to be denned up in that tree. If there's any like dead limbs.
Big, giant, hollow hole in the middle of that.
Then I bet you there's a fella hanging out in there.
All right.
A fella
or several fellas. But that where I was going with that is you can go in, it's you're obviously more likely to call them in when they're most active, dawn and dusk. I even think on like the lighting thing, there are rules against like shining lights in a tree, like finding eye shine, but you can use something like a thermal to spot them and then shoot them that way. You can't just be like shining lights up in trees and shooting at eye shine. That's a no-no.
I think that could vary by state though too.
Yeah, I think it does. But back to the calling them in the daytime. A lot of times, if you know where those den trees are, they're going to be in there sleeping. So what you want to do is literally get that call set up, get the decoy set up, and your goal is literally to wake them up and get them curious enough for them to pop their head out, get visual confirmation on that decoy, and hopefully then scurry down the tree and come in.
I mean, it's really like, it's interesting. Like if I heard a fight going on outside my house, like I'd poke my head out the window and have a look.
Yeah.
Wait, I would also love it if you would then exit your front door and just be like, coming in, seeing red. I'm joining this scuffle.
Yeah. And that's where we do get into like weapon, choices. So when I did it a couple of years ago, I had a Ruger 93 and 17 HMR. Mm-hmm. They also make that same rifle in 22 mag.
Do you own this gun?
I don't. I'm such an idiot.
Wait.
I sold it. It was a 93 R17 with the bull barrel.
Savage.
So, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, what did I say?
Ruger. I thought you had a 96, which is a lever gun.
Nope.
Oh, God, I was going to just...
No. Yes, it was a Savage. Savage 93 17 with the bull barrel. Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Ryan, you're going to are you okay?
I'm on a gun thing right now, man.
Yeah.
You literally actually just going to have to leave soon to go back to a gun broker auction.
Yeah, absolutely. But a Magnum rimfire is great if they do hang up in the trees and they're not coming out. One, if you are saving pelts like on the table here, rimfire is going to be a lot more conducive to saving the pelts. You're not going to blow it away with a bunch of, number 6s or something like that. But once they do come down out of the tree and start running in, that's when you would switch to a shotgun. I have a Rossi Youth 410 that I had number 4s in, and when they would commit and come into the call, that 410 would put them down.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just used a 12 gauge.
And you're fighting like danger close with these.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you got to be set up to shoot them at 10 yards. If you do a YouTube search, you'll find videos of these things literally, coming by at several feet. Just seeing red.
Oh, okay.
So
I've got my lever gun 410 Henry, and that doesn't really have any provisions for a choke, but that shouldn't matter if I'm.
Oh, I think you'll be just fine.
Oh, great.
Yeah, especially with those quick follow-up shots.
That's just it.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Like you said, when you watch, some of those videos on YouTube, it's impressive. It's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And you do see a lot of daylight stuff too. Like people are I think the evening hours, might be more productive.
Yeah.
But it certainly can be done during the day.
And I do think, a lot of people, myself included, when I first started going, I watched, that's what got me into it, was watching some of those videos on YouTube, and you see these things charging right in. So you go out there your first time, and that's what's in your mind, is these things are going to come torpedoing out of a tree and run in. Whereas, I can't confirm this, but I bet you a lot of folks, when they do set up for, their first couple stands, even if they don't get one that charges right in, I bet the odds of one just peeking its head out, getting a little bit curious, are pretty high. So being really intentional with looking up into the treetops, bringing binos, scanning up into there a little bit, it wouldn't be a bad idea, because a lot of times you'll see them just pick their head up. Maybe they'll come out, they'll hang out on a limb, and if they're not, feeling coming in for a fight, they might just kind of hang out and watch.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not intentional glassing up or looking up into the treetops, you might miss it.
Based on the overly dramatized tales from Slingin' Rick over here, I pictured the ground would crawl.
I think if you're on the X, and it's been my experience too, if you're on the X and they're there, they're coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the one time I did it,
I would love that.
Like what you're talking about, Jim, that's what happened.
Yeah. You'll see them literally, they will jump out of the tree. They won't crawl down. Sometimes they'll crawl down, but sometimes they will literally jump.
I mean, they'll attack the call. They'll, now I have watched on YouTube. Here I am. I'm being, please don't take this as me talking as an expert, because I'm basically just regurgitating what I've seen on YouTube.
We are raccoon curious.
Yes, we are.
Not raccoon experts.
But that's the second time in 2 days that something curious has been brought up on a podcast.
This is what's so fun. This kind of goes back to where I started. I love this conversation because we're having a ton of speculation. I think this, I've seen this, but then also it's then you got to go put it into practice and see and then you learn and you figure out oh, this worked. I thought this, but that actually didn't work. Anyway, one thing I have seen though is you do get coons that are maybe a little bit more timid. Mm-hmm. They peek their head out and they're just I'm not super into it. If you are interested in recovering that animal, wait for it to commit to at least some sort of significant level, so it's not going to just fall back into its den and then you just lose it forever.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about call sequences?
So
tactics?
All I've ever used to call coons is just coon fight. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever, and I've got the call here, we can maybe play a little clip of it. I've heard a real coon fight. And it was one of the most blood-curdling sounds. I didn't even know what it was at first. Yeah. I mean, we're like, what is going on over there?
Their sound-making ability is impressive.
And it was 3 coons just going at it, and none of them made it out. So that's what I've used. But I printed off a little thing here, one of my printouts. Again, and this is me just telling you, some things that other people are telling me, so I'm passing along this information.
Did you write that on Microsoft Word and then print it?
It's copy and paste.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a right-click thing. I'll show you later, Jim.
It's working on conservation.
So this is from the Fox Pro website. I don't have the author, so I won't be able to credit the author, but you can find this information on the Fox Pro website, so hopefully that's enough of
credentializing.
credit to the.
Oh yeah, what is that? Your bibliography or something?
Yeah,
like that? Yeah,
something like that.
Your professor.
sources.
Your professor will accept that.
Yeah. AP style.
This guy says, this is official AP style. This guy says, I like to start out calling with a food call that is non-threatening. And in the case of coons, I like bird calls as a starting point. In particular, I like Foxboro's chicken in distress. Woodpecker, blue jay, starling, magpie, partridge, quail, and mallard ducks, which I thought that was interesting. Like he's going out, he's looking at it from kind of like
food source,
from a food source, and almost how I would typically like start calling coyotes in a way. Perhaps.
Sure, yeah.
If I had, he goes on to say, if I had to choose just one of those, it would most definitely be the chicken in distress. There's a hot tip for you. I'll use this call first because it has the potential to call in large and small coons regardless of where they are, male or female. They just see it as an easy meal. If I've not had any response, so he's kind of layering in his calls to maybe a little bit more subtle and then ramping it up. I will usually switch fairly quickly to Foxboro's raccoon puppies. This call will usually bring in adults, and both males and females may respond. And then so his last resort, in a way, is my first resort. But then he transitions to the coon fight and all right, let's go.
Yeah. Yep. Raspy woodpecker is another one. I don't know that he had that one in there, but
it was
okay.
Irish, something woodpecker was in there. Yeah. But yeah, so I'd
be curious. It probably depends on your environment too. For example, if you're nearer to maybe an urban environment, like my neighbor had a raccoon just get in and mess up one of his cats one time.
Oh, sure.
Would a distressed cat call?
I think so.
Maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
Can confirm, not with raccoons, but with coyotes, that if you're near that urban area where a lot of people have cats, that's the finisher.
That's
right there.
Okay.
And
that can be a good sound.
If you do any work with open read calls, you can figure out how to make the mew sound.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just call it kitty mew, and that's usually a death sentence. If there's a critter in the area that frequently snacks on Felis familiaris.
I mean, that's what I was
going to
go
with.
We've been using cat thus far.
Well, I mean, teach their own, but that works really good.
I've never had a need for a 22 mag.
Oh, this is a
good one.
But we always talk about going coon hunting.
You've got a Savage Model 24.
Yeah, but it's not a 22 mag.
I know,
it's not.
But you've got the best of both worlds. 22 LR in the right spot, deadly combo.
Okay,
that's what brought this old boy down.
Yeah.
It
Rick is. This is
look at the
potential BC record.
Beautiful animal.
The Palominos.
It's got to be like a 38-pounder.
That's a big raccoon.
Nice
yes,
beaver.
Absolutely. I mean, I've killed coons with a 22 before.
Yep.
I've also found that if you can get a very reliable shot to the brain, that's a fantastic way to do it. It's more than adequate. This is a pretty big animal.
It's large.
They can be, right?
Yeah, it's big.
The colors are cool.
Yeah,
because it's not your standard gray.
Yeah,
I think. I wouldn't tell somebody not to hunt coons with a 22. I think there are better options.
Oh, sure. I believe, yes. Yeah.
22 long rifle, I'm saying.
22 mag would be a good one.
I wish that I would have actually gotten something to come in, because then I could have showed you what a 60 grain VMAX would have done.
Oh.
Well,
what were you,
maybe I
what
wouldn't
were
have
you,
had any. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to show you, because maybe it
would have just been like
a phone picture.
Yeah.
There used to be a raccoon here.
Confirmation of death.
Yeah.
Got him.
What rifle were you using, Jim?
My 18-inch AR.
Oh, okay.
It's what I usually just keep a thermal on top. We were actually going for coyotes, and then I was like, let's switch to the raccoon call. They'll come parachuting in. It'll look like Saving Private Ryan, or
All of a sudden, the thermal is just lit up with
heat
sources
emanating from the sky.
I think Jim might think raccoons have more technology than they do.
You would swear.
Can you confirm they don't, though?
Can you confirm that they...
You can. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Can you?
I've never seen a raccoon with a parachute.
I'll never forget. Okay, there's only one way I can picture the raccoon that I found in our barn getting down from where it was.
Fact. Yes.
And it was with a parachute.
Fair enough.
Or a complex repelling.
They're crafty critters.
It was 40 to 50 feet in the air, probably 50 feet in the air, hammocking on a single 2x4 stretched across 2 trusses with absolutely no perceivable way to actually have gotten to it. So I'm convinced they teleport and/or float and/or have jetpacks.
I cannot believe you didn't help him down.
Well, I didn't want to shoot a hole in my roof.
That's where the 22 comes in.
You know what else would work really good for coons? Pistol caliber carbines.
There's an idea.
Yep.
And I guess why I said that, I don't think you're going to, you shoot a big coon in the body, like I don't think you're going to get a significant pass through.
Well, all I had to see was 4 feet that were just hanging over the 2x4.
Oh,
that's when you put it right up through that 2x4.
When you actually make this a 3-dimensional raccoon again and you put it on top of a 2x4 perfectly with its little feet dangling off, there's not much to shoot at other than just 4 feet.
Kind of becomes
He's literally shielded
He shielded
vitals.
himself with his vitals with a 2x4. Brilliant.
Yeah, he lacks bone structure.
At this point, it's fairly void of bones.
Yeah.
Generally, when you take the hide off, that is the result.
Minus the hide and the fur and the defining features, I think we have about what we would see if it was a 60 grain VMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Instantly becomes a rug.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
And then we'll cook them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We didn't even. Well, that's just a whole other thing. But I've heard that there actually can be
Mini bears, man.
despite the fact that
Man.
I wouldn't eat one of them city raccoons.
No. I'd try it. I've never eaten one. Have you eaten one? You've not eaten a raccoon.
Oh, yes. Remember,
Slime.
Hungarian grandmother.
True.
If you wanted to eat everything from snapping turtle to coot to raccoon, muskrat, beaver.
All major food groups.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a
feral pigeon.
Made a heck of a food pyramid.
I mean, that sounds fine. Like pigeons, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. We remember when I dusted that pigeon out here? That thing was a beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Do you got to cook these suckers like bears, when we're worried about the trick?
They're fairly parasitic.
Fairly.
Yeah.
I would assume.
It's good.
All right. Well,
Shall be done.
Let's get it on the books and do it.
All right.
we don't have much time, but this is a great time to do it. It's a little bit, most big game seasons are, winding down in a pretty big way. It's kind of that.
I would say if you get a little warm spell in this like January, February time frame, like if you get that 40, man, that's it. That's what you're looking for.
So when you're driving home at night and like every exposed dirt clod in a field
is a raccoon.
There's a raccoon there.
Yeah.
I saw one the other day on my way to work, just like cruising the edge of a cornfield.
Drop a pin on it?
I should have. Right before, and you mentioned this, Eric, and I knew it, but it was just like right before Christmas. I mean, dude, it was like in
Could
the
you
40s,
imagine
50s.
walking in?
If we had gone then,
Christmas dinner, you just got like a solid 30-pound raccoon.
Plop it
Kids?
on the table.
I think that would get me kicked out of my Christmas dinner.
Best case scenario.
Honestly, then you just go back outside.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. If you have any just insane coon hunting, coon calling tips, let us know. We're eager to learn here. Just another great kind of opportunity that a lot of folks don't take advantage of. So if you have, please share your knowledge, and we'll report back with our findings. Hopefully, we find some raccoons.
I hope you are raccoon curious as well, because we are.
Why not a second time?
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you, or maybe call you on the next one.
Call me.
Bye.
Goodbye.